Hello and welcome. I'm Micah, the cosplayer seamstress. Today we're going to be doing part 2 of the Little Red Riding Hood costume, which will be the skirt. If you haven't watched part 1, go check that one out. It's on the channel under the Little Red Riding Hood playlist. But before that, remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
The materials you will need are thread, one 7-inch zipper, 2 hook closures, fabric, interfacing, the pattern with directions, scissors, both fabric and paper, sewing machine, and a handheld needle. If you would like to know where I got these materials and how much they cost, check out my patterns and plans video for Little Red Riding Hood. The first step to any pattern project is to cut out the pieces that you will need for your design. I will be doing design D with this skirt pattern. That means looking at the pattern directions, I will need pieces 2 and 4. Once I determined the pattern pieces I needed, I cut them out of the thin pattern paper. On the pattern paper there are the sizes marked. I recommend cutting the pattern paper to the size you need and then saving the pieces you cut off just in case you want to make the skirt again in a different size. Also, while cutting out the pattern paper, remember to cut your notches so that it's easy to remember to cut them out of the fabric. Then I will reference the pattern for the cutting layout. I will be doing design D. According to this pattern, I will need to set the fabric up so that I have the salvages at the top and bottom, creating a kind of tri-fold shape with the fabric. Once I had the fabric set up, I pinned the pattern piece I needed to the fabric. Each pattern piece tells you how many of that piece you need and where to cut it. For pattern piece 4, I needed to cut 2 on the fold. I cut the first piece and then realized I did not have enough fabric to cut this piece with the pattern a second time. So, after about half an hour of brainstorming, I noticed that if I unfolded the fabric I had just cut out and set the other fabric up, so it was one long piece of fabric with no folds, I had just enough fabric to cut the second piece. So that's what I did here. Then I also needed piece 2. This one I needed to cut one out of the fabric and one out of the interfacing. While cutting the fabric, remember to cut your notches and place your dots. I do this with a fabric pin until I can mark it with a fabric safe pen or pencil. Next, I will set up the machine. If you're not sure how to make a bobbin match your thread or how to thread the machine or bobbin, check out my sewing machine walkthrough video. I will be using white thread on this part so that it matches the fabric. Try to always match your thread to the fabric unless you're wanting the thread to stand out. Now I will be referencing the pattern for the directions. Step 1 reads, stay stitch upper edges of skirt front and skirt back, 1 or 4 sections, 1/4 inch 6 mm from cut edge in direction of the arrows. This stitching stays in permanently and helps prevent stretching on curved edges. Stay stitching will not be shown in the following illustrations. The illustration looks like this. Basically, stitch the top edge of the skirt according to the image shown. Step 2 reads, with right sides together, stitch skirt front to skirt back at right side seam. Stitch left side seam from lower edge to notch, back stitching at the notch to reinforce seam. This is what the illustration for the steps looks like. Again, this is a very simple step. Sew the right side of the skirt all the way from top to bottom. Then, on the left side, sew from the bottom side up to the first notch on the fabric. Then, at the notch, backstitch to reinforce the seam. I forgot to film this part of the step, but here is what it should look like at the end. This is where I will be putting the zipper, which is why it is so important to remember not to sew to the top on this part. I will then skip to step 5 as I will not have an overskirt. Step 5 reads, press under 5/8 inch 1.5 centimeters on left front opening edge and 1/2 inch 1.3 centimeters on left back opening edge. Pin left back edge to zipper tape, placing pressed edge close to zipper teeth, and tape end of zipper a scant 3/8 inch 1 centimeter below upper edge. Stitch close to pressed edge using an adjustable zipper foot. Pin left front edge to zipper tape, lapping left front 1/8 inch 3 millimeters over left back. Baste 3/8 inch 1 centimeter from pressed edge and 1/4 inch 6 millimeters below end of zipper. Stitches basted using an adjustable zipper foot and squaring stitches across lower end as shown. Here's the illustration for this step. First, I will be pressing with a hot iron 5/8 inch under the front opening and then again on the back opening edge, 1/2 inch, creating finished edges. Then I will pin the zipper to the skirt, placing the pressed edge as close as I can to the zipper teeth. I will also make sure that there is space left at the top. This should only be 3/8 inches. Then I will sew the back opening of the zipper to the skirt, trying to get as close to that pressed edge. I did not change my presser foot as I do not have an adjustable zipper presser foot. Then I will pin in the front side of the zipper, making sure it laps the back part barely to hide the zipper. Then I will baste that by hand to keep it in place before sewing it with the machine. Then I will sew it as it was basted along the side and then square off the bottom as well so that the zipper stays in place. I also forgot to film this part, but this is what it should look like at the end. Step 6 reads, apply fusible interfacing to wrong side of waistband 2, following the manufacturer's directions. Then I will be skipping down to for views A, C, D. To finish unnotched edge, stitch 1/4 inch 6 millimeters from edge, turn under along stitching, and stitch or zigzag over the edge or overlock serge over the edge. Here is the illustration for this step. To complete the first part of this step, I will be following the directions on my interfacing. It was to cut out the piece on the interfacing and then stitch the interfacing to the fabric on the wrong side of the fabric, or on the part that will not be seen. Once I was done with the interfacing, I sewed straight across this at a mere 1/4 inches. Then I folded this along that stitching and sewed using an overlock stitch. Step 7 reads, with right sides together, pin waistband to skirt, matching centers, placing inner small dot at right side seam and outer small dot at left back opening edge. Waistband will extend 3/8 inch 1 centimeter beyond left front opening edge. Clip skirt to stitching if necessary. Stitch in a 3/8 inch 1 centimeter seam. Press seam towards band, pressing band out. Here is the illustration for this step. The first part of this step is very straightforward. I will be pinning the waistband to the skirt, making sure everything is matched up. Then the next part is explaining that there will be some fabric that will overlap on the left opening, and not to worry about that. The next step is not necessary, so I did not do that. Then I sewed the waistband to the skirt with a 3/8 seam allowance instead of the normal 5/8 inch. Next, I pressed the band with a hot iron, pressing the band out. Step 8 reads, fold band with right sides together. Open out waistband seam allowance and turn under left front end of band diagonally as shown. Stitch in a 3/8 1 cm seam, being careful not to catch in zipper teeth. Trim seam and corners. Here's the illustration for this step. This step was very confusing for me at first. First, I folded the waistband so that the right sides faced each other. Then, I folded the waistband at the seam allowance and brought it up at a diagonal. Then I stitched 3/8 seams on the front and back zipper pieces without catching the zipper. Then I trimmed those edges and the corner. Step 9 reads, turn end right side out, press. On inside, pin finished edge of waistband 1/8 inch over seam, matching centers and placing pins on outside. On outside, stitch in the ditch and groove of the waistband seam, catching in finished edge on inside. Here is the illustration for this step. This step also confused me at first. First, I would be pressing the end from the previous step with the right side out. Then fold the waistband over so that the finished edge from step 6 goes over the seam just slightly. Then, to keep this in place, I will be pinning it down on the outside, and sew this down following the stitching of the seam so that the finished edge will stay down. Step 10 reads, lap ends of band, fastening with 2 hook closures as shown. Here is the illustration for this step. Basically, this is saying close the 2 ends of the bands. I will be doing this with hook closures that need to be hand sewn on, like you see in the video. Now I will be skipping down to step 12 as I am not doing design A. Step 12 reads, allow garment to hang overnight, mark length. Trim depth of hem evenly, allowing for a 5/8 inch 1.5 cm hem. Machine stitch 5/8 inch 1.5 cm from lower edge. Press up hem along stitching. To form narrow hem, tuck under raw edge to meet stitching. Press. Here is the illustration for this step. So first, I let the skirt hang overnight so that I got an accurate measurement for the hem. Then I measured the length of the skirt and decided I wanted the skirt to be the length it was so I did not have to trim the edge. Then I sewed a line 5/8 inch away from the raw edge. Then I folded the fabric up to that line and pressed the fabric so that it stayed in place. Congratulations! You now have a completed skirt. Here's what the skirt looked like on me when it was finished. I'll be wearing it with the bodysuit I made last week. If you would like to see how I made the bodysuit, check out the Little Red Riding Hood Part 1 bodysuit, which is under the Little Red Riding Hood playlist on my channel.
Now that you have the skirt, you are ready for the most important part of Little Red Riding Hood's costume, her red hood. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. See you on the next project!